Project Nagalim, challenges from Kuki historical lands, Nscn's conflicts, ceasefire, Kuki-Meiteis conflict, Kuki and Meiteis rejection, and prospects post-Muivah Project Nagalim, the vision of the National Socialist Council of Nagalim Isak Muivah, Nscn, to establish a sovereign Naga homeland encompassing Naga inhabited areas in northeast India, Nagaland, parts of Manipur, Assam, Arunachal Pradesh, and northwest Myanmar faces formidable obstacles. A primary challenge is the overlap with Kuki historical lands, known as the Kuki Hills or the proposed Kuki Independence Hills country, Kuki land, as documented in colonial records and detailed in the making of Meghalaya State, with special references to Kuki Hills, 1741 to 42 and 1852 to 1949, and its movement since 1947 by Dr. T.S. Haukip and S.T. Kaikomong, November 19, 2024. Nscn's claim that these Kuki inhabited areas are Naga lands intensifies tensions. Historical Kuki-Naga conflicts, the 1997 ceasefire with the Indian government, and the ongoing Kuki-Meiteis conflict in Manipur since 2023 further complicate the project. Both Kuki and Meiteis communities strongly reject Nagalim, viewing it as a threat to their territorial and cultural integrity. However, the Kuki-Meiteis conflict and the Kuki push for Kuki land could paradoxically enhance Nagalim's prospects by fragmenting opposition. The potential death of Nscn's leader, Twingalang Muivah, could either destabilize or reinvigorate the project. This analysis explores these dynamics, emphasizing Kuki and Meiteis opposition and the implications for Nagalim. 1. Challenges due to Kuki historical lands and Nscn's claims. The Nscn's vision of Nagalim includes Manipur's hill districts, e.g. Ukhrul, Senapati, Tamenglong, Chandel, which overlap with Kuki historical lands, collectively termed the Kuki Hills or proposed Kuki land. The Nscn claims these areas as Naga ancestral lands, asserting that Kukis are migrants who have settled in historically Naga territories. This narrative is strongly contested by Kuki groups, who cite colonial records to establish their long-standing presence as outlined by Haukip and Kaikomong, 2024. Kuki Hills and Colonial Records. The Kuki-Zo people's historical landholdings, spanning approximately 8,614 square miles, are detailed in colonial sources such as the Imperial Gazetteer of India, 1908, Manipur State Gazetteer, 1905, and British archival records. Key areas include British Mombi, Lompai area, 1907, 2,491 square miles, Tengnupal Chandel, Eastern Kuki Hills, inhabited by Old and New Kukis. British Chasad area, 1907, 2,272 square miles, Ukhrul Kamjong, parts of Kangpokpi, Northern Kuki Hills, home to Thadu, Kongsai, Vaifei, and Kamrem tribes. British Jampi area, 1907, 1,577 square miles, parts of Assam, Kangpokpi, Tamenglong, Jiribam, Western Kuki Hills, including Thadu, Kongsai, Gangte, Hamar, and Paiti tribes. British Songpi subdivision, 1919, 2,274 square miles, Churachandpur Fursal, Southern Kuki Hills, encompassing Haokip Reserved, 400 square miles, Singsan region, 250 square miles, Manlun region, 220 square miles, Thengsing area, 90 square miles, Geet Kual, 170 square miles, and other areas. These regions, supported by sources like the Lushai Kuki clans, Shakespeare 1912, and the Chin Hills, Carey and Tuck, 1896, demonstrate the Kuki-Zo's deep-rooted presence and 50 to 90% lexical similarities among tribes like Thadu, Pete, Shmar, and Zu. Kuki land movement. Since 1947, the Kuki National Assembly, KNA, and later the Kuki National Organization United People's Front, KNO-UPF, have demanded statehood under Article 3 of the Indian Constitution, proposing Kuki land based on these colonial landholdings. This aspiration directly conflicts with Nagalim, as areas like Chandel and Tamenglong are claimed by both Nagas and Kukis. Nscn-IM's claims. Nscn-IM insists that Kuki-inhabited areas in Manipur's hills are historically Naga, alleging that Kukis migrated from Myanmar or elsewhere during colonial times. This narrative, rooted in Naga oral histories and Nscn-IM's political agenda, dismisses Kuki colonial records and fuels territorial disputes. For example, Nscn-IM's claim over Shandell, a Kuki majority district, ignores the documented Mombi area's 2,491 square miles under Kuki control in 1907. Kuki rejection of Nagalim. The Kuki Impi Manipur, Kim, and KNO vehemently reject Nagalim, arguing that it encroaches on their ancestral lands. They cite colonial records to assert their historical rights and view Nscn-IM's claims as an attempt to marginalize Kukizo identity. This rejection, grounded in the documented 8,614 square miles of Kuki Hills, poses a significant barrier to Nagalim's territorial ambitions. 2. Kuki and Meiteis, rejection of Nagalim. Both Kuki and Meiteis communities in Manipur strongly oppose Project Nagalim, viewing it as a threat to their territorial and cultural integrity. Kuki opposition, the Kukizo community, through organizations like KIM and KNO-UPF, rejects Nagalim's inclusion of Kuki Hills, arguing that areas like Churachandpur, Shandell, and Tamenglong are integral to their proposed Kuki land. The Kuki movement for statehood, active since 1947 and reinforced by colonial records, directly challenges Nscn-IM's claims. Kukis commemorate the 1990s violence, particularly the 1993 Jupi massacre, as evidence of Naga aggression, strengthening their resolve to protect their lands. Ex-posts from May 2024 highlight Kuki accusations of Nscn-IM's role in ethnic cleansing, further solidifying their opposition. The Kukizo's documented historical presence, spanning 8,614 square miles, lends weight to their rejection as they view Nagalim as an attempt to erase their cultural and territorial identity. Meiteis opposition. The Meiteis community, dominant in Manipur's valley and comprising the state's majority, over 50% of the population, opposes Nagalim due to its potential to fragment Manipur. In June 2001, massive protests in Imphal against the extension of the Nscn-IM ceasefire without territorial limits resulted in 18 deaths and forced the Indian government to clarify that Manipur's boundaries would remain intact. Meiteis groups like the United Committee Manipur, UCM, and All Manipur United Clubs Organization, AMUCO, view Nagalim as a threat to state unity, fearing the loss of hill districts like Ukhrul and Senapati to a Naga homeland. In 2024 to 2025, Meiteis leaders have accused Nscn-IM of exploiting the Kuki-Meiteis conflict to advance Nagalim, further hardening their stance. The Meiteis demand for a unified Manipur, articulated through protests and memorandums to the central government, directly counters Nscn-IM's territorial ambitions. Unified resistance. The Kuki and Meiteis rejection of Nagalim, though driven by distinct motivations, Kukis protecting their historical lands and Meiteis preserving state integrity, creates a formidable barrier. This dual opposition, amplified by Manipur's ethnic complexity, Nagas, Kukis, Meiteis, makes territorial integration for Nagalim politically and socially unfeasible. The Kukizo's documented landholdings and the Meiteis' numerical and political dominance in Manipur strengthen their resolve, as both communities perceive Nagalim as an existential threat to their identities and territorial rights. Third, historical Kuki-Naga conflict. The Kuki-Naga conflict, driven by Nscn-IM's claims over Kuki-inhabited areas, has significantly undermined Nagalim. 1992 to 1997 violence. Nscn-IM, through its Naga Lim Guards, launched what Kukis call an ethnic pogrom to dominate Manipur's hill districts. Over 1,000 Kukis and 400 Nagas were killed, with 3,434 houses burned and 50,000 to 100,000 displaced. The 1993 Jupi massacre, 115 Kuki deaths, and struggles over Moreh, a key smuggling hub, were pivotal flashpoints. Kuki groups like the KNR and Kuki National Front KNF retaliated, deepening ethnic divides. Nscn justified the violence by claiming Kuki areas as Nagalands, a narrative rejected by Kukis, citing colonial records like the Imperial Gazetteer of India, 1908. Lingering grievances. Kukis commemorate Sunit Ni, Black Day, annually for the 1993 massacre, demanding justice and rejecting Naga claims over Kuki Hills. Nscn's narrative of Kukis as migrants from Myanmar, encroaching on Nagalands, fuels tensions contradicted by colonial documentation of Kuki landholdings, e.g. 2,491 square miles in Mumbai area. These unresolved grievances reinforce Kuki opposition to Nagalim. Recent clashes. In 2024 to 2025, Nscn clashed with the Kuki National Army Burma, KNAB, along the Kamjong-Tamu border, accusing them of colluding with Indian security forces, Assam Rifles, Border Security Force, or Myanmar's junta to undermine Naga interests. Posts from May 16, 2025 show Nscn rejecting Kuki propaganda, while KNAB denies involvement in Manipur's ethnic violence, focusing on anti-junta efforts in Myanmar. These clashes highlight the ongoing territorial dispute over Kuki-inhabited areas, claimed by Nscn. 4. Kuki-Meiteis conflict and opportunities for Nagalim. The Kuki-Meiteis conflict, erupting on May 3, 2023, has reshaped Manipur's ethnic and political landscape, potentially creating opportunities for Nagalim, despite Kuki and Meiteis rejection. Conflict overview. Triggered by a Manipur High Court order to consider scheduled tribe status for Meiteis, the conflict has resulted in over 250 deaths, 60,000 displacements, and ongoing violence. 7. Why Nagalim faces challenges but has a bigger chance challenges. Kuki Hills and Kuki Land. Nscn's claim over Kuki inhabited areas, 8,614 square miles, documented as Kuki Hills, is rejected by Kukis, who cite colonial records to assert their historical rights, Kuki and Meiteis. Rejection. Kukis oppose Nagalim to protect Kuki Land, while Meiteis prioritize Manipur's unity, creating a unified front against territorial integration. Ceasefire stagnation. Unmet demands for a flag, constitution, and territory frustrate Nscn's progress. Muivah's mortality. His death risks internal fragmentation and loss of momentum, increased chances, divided opposition. The Kuki-Meiteis conflict weakens both communities' ability to oppose Nagalim, as Kukis focus on Kuki Land and Meiteis on state control. Kuki Land parallel. Kuki statehood demands could align with Nagalim, potentially dividing Manipur's hill areas and reducing territorial disputes. Strategic leverage. Nscn can exploit Manipur's instability to negotiate autonomy, presenting itself as a stabilizing force amid regional chaos. Post-Muivah unity. Muivah's death could galvanize Naga unity, leveraging the Kuki-Meiteis divide to secure a modified Nagalim. Conclusion. Project Nagalim faces significant challenges due to Nscn's claim that Kuki-inhabited areas, documented as the Kuki Hills, 8,614 square miles, are Naga lands. The Kuki-Zo community, backed by colonial records, rejects Nagalim to protect their proposed Kuki land, while Meiteis oppose it to preserve Manipur's unity, creating a formidable dual resistance. The 1990s Kuki-Naga violence, including the 1993 Jupi massacre and the stalled 1997 ceasefire and 2015 framework agreement, further complicate territorial ambitions. However, the Kuki-Meiteis conflict since 2023 and the Kuki push for Kuki Land fragment opposition, providing Nscn a strategic opportunity to negotiate with Delhi. Twingaling Muivah's potential death could destabilize Nscn, but may also unify Nagas, capitalizing on regional instability to secure a modified Nagalim, possibly limited to Nagaland and Naga majority areas. If Kuki and Naga demands for Kuki Land and Nagalim align, they could reshape Manipur's ethnic landscape, mitigating direct conflict and enhancing both groups' prospects for autonomy.